guru. Ooh.
Dude, I saw someone the other day with this RK shirt on.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa! I didn't even recognize the person. I'm like, where did they get that?
Dude, you got to give me some gear.
Dude, yeah, for sure. For sure. We just ordered a bunch of new stuff from Rivals and.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Sponsor.
We got like some new new warm-up tops that like mimic the ones my grandpa had with his team. And
okay. Yes.
That should be kind of cool. I'm trying to keep everything as like streamlined. Like my uncle and I talked about, I'm like, I just want people to be able to go anywhere and go, oh, there's a Clinton team or there's a Clinton, because like when we started
you get it from Rivals?
Yeah. Because like when we started, the pink was cool, and like it's not that we won't do much pink. It's just like it was more just to attract people, It wasn't like I don't want that to be the primary. It's just fun to. There's got to be a difference too, like
sure.
Girls, they like pink, so
absolutely. We'll wait here about another minute. Love it, dude. Yeah, I tried to find. I don't really have. I've got like my old jersey from senior year baseball. I know that junior year one. I asked Snowden at his retirement party. He's like, "Oh, I don't even know what happened to those things." I'm like, "I wanted that sucker so bad."
I know.
I love those. Those jerseys are raw, man.
Dude, I remember when we first got them. I'm like, "Oh, I've waited so long for this cutoff," because that was when cutoffs were huge.
Yeah.
It was like. Oh.
Cutoffs were great, man. Love it.
Those were great. Better, I tell the kids today, I'm like, you guys have no idea how blessed you are. Like, I remember freshman year, sophomore year, it's like, here's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, dude. Yeah, they definitely got it made, don't they?
And then the amount of stuff that they wear, I'm like, geez, I thought I had some swag. You guys got like. I don't understand the mitten though. If you don't know how to slide, get off the base path. You don't even have mitten on your hand.
What are you in the kitchen or something, man? Like baking brownies or what, dude? Like, come on,
I see that. I'm like, oh, I would never be caught wearing that thing.
I wouldn't either, man. No way. No.
But they think it's cool.
What's that?
They think it's cool.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I'm like, well, go for it.
All right, man. Should we roll?
Yeah,
we got enough people on. All right. For everybody that's on right now, appreciate you joining. Episode 26 of Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. Shout out to the sponsors, as always, AdCraft and Fat Leak. They got some gear if you guys ever need T-shirts, jerseys, whatever. Hit me up or Coach Coy. We'll get you hooked up. They got some good gear. Got a guest tonight. The man, the myth, the legend, Dylan DJ Schneeberger. And he's going to give you a little rundown, a little introduction about himself. So you got the floor, my man.
Let's see. This is year 7 of teaching.
Ooh, okay.
Year 10 of coaching. This is the 3rd year of being the head coach for the girls wrestling team. And teaching U.S. history at the high school, having a blast. Just trying to bring back that royalty, man. Trying to do it right.
Love it. So you teach, man, history. I see you as I definitely see you as a history teacher for sure.
I had a kid the other day say, "You're like the stereotype. Are you just a history teacher so you can be a coach?" I'm like, wow. Yeah, actually, no, I'm just kidding.
But here's my question. What's the stereotype for a history teacher?
Well, they always think a history teacher ends up being like a football coach or is just coaching and you can't teach anything else. So you might as well teach history, that type of stuff.
When I think back, like Bloom and Camp were history teachers. Honestly, dude, I will tell you this. Mark Bloom, awesome teacher. Yeah, he was awesome, man. He was a good guy.
He's a positive guy. Some of those guys have infectious, and I just try to be positive too. So like, I'm like, hey, I'm not a historian by any means, but I see value in history. So I always tell kids like, hey, you don't have to love it. You just got to be aware of it and know it.
Sure.
So
100%. Yep. All right. So let's kind of dive in here from the top. Girls wrestling program. Just tell me how many girls do you have out? Incoming talent, senior class, varsity. Where do you guys stand right now at this point?
So we had 14 at open mat tonight in our open workout, which was good. We had 3 middle schoolers there. We have a really good core group of girls coming back. We graduated a few. This incoming freshman class, though, seems to really love it, and we're excited about having them. So collectively, we always flutter around 24 to 30, somewhere in between there.
Sure.
Which is a good goal to have. But we're really excited because they are excited to start. Like tonight, I was like, well, let's see what we get,
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, especially when you're doing off-season stuff. It's hard. So, but when 14 girls showed up, I was like, wow, okay, this is good.
That's a good start to kick off.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely. So this be year number 3 for you.
Yeah, this is year 3.
Year 3.
It's crazy to think about. Feels like we just started.
Well, I mean, I feel like you guys definitely, in the last couple of years, listen to some of your interviews with old Gary Detterman on the old radio shows. Love those. It's kind of funny now that you're on the opposite side now. Back in the day, going for those radio shows, and now, as a player, now you're the coach, and he's like, "Hey, Dylan," like, "Hey, KR," whatever it is. Like, I remember those. Those were always kind of fun to go to.
Yeah, it's always funny too because I remember the very first one I did, I was so nervous. Like I called my uncle on the way up there. I'm like, I don't know what to say. He's like, oh, you're just talking to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I write something down? Like, so I don't forget. And he's like, yeah, don't do that. If you're going to be a head coach, you got to know. But Gary's so easy to talk to that, I love it. I just love sitting down and I don't even think about anything. I just let him ask and I just shoot from the hip,
It's probably I would think it's probably easier to just go in there. Like, there's not really prepping for it. It's like you just go in, like, what to say. Like, if you try to rehearse it, it just sounds like it's, a script.
Yeah. And to be honest, you always worry about, did I leave someone out? Did I not mention somebody that had a good day? Cause that as a coach, I'm so concerned about, okay, I don't always want to talk about the top kid. I want to make sure that the other kids know that like you have so much value too. And it's hard because you get asked about specific kids a lot that, any chance you can, you're like, well, there's other girls in there that have a lot to offer too, so.
Sure. So I could see that. I mean, but I would think probably parents, coaches, they know like that's just kind of how it is. It's not like you would ever, intentionally leave somebody out. Like it's hard because you only get so much time to probably say, on there is a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And it depends on what it depends on what Gary wants to say. Like, there's, I notice sometimes he loves talking to certain coaches. He'll talk to them for 2, 5, 6 minutes, and sometimes he just asks you a few questions and that's it. And it's like, well, all right, well, we'll move on, I guess.
You just got that free meal. Isn't that the free meal there?
I love it too.
I remember when going like junior year, a couple times Bloom, I'd always be like, hey, can I go? And he's like, you just want the free meal. I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like,
right.
Why wouldn't I want the free meal, man? Like, what's wrong with you?
Gosh. No kidding. I tell my assistant coach, I'm like, guys, you can come up if you want. Like, you're not gonna be on the radio, but you can sure get a free meal.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my first question for you. And I don't know, just again, your opinion on this, but why do you think it took Iowa so long to implement, girls wrestling as a competitive sport like all the other ones?
I think there's a societal norm in Iowa and there's a societal norm as a country. Iowa has a different view of wrestling, it's like the Mecca. And for us, it's like, hey, this is this should have been done years ago. But it's so hard because beyond the sport, you don't realize how much red tape, money, politics is involved in stuff like that. And until you start to realize, like, getting anything like that done is so hard, you know, and then it's like, okay, well, that's step one. Now what? Because now you got to have a state tournament, and then you got to have a regional, and then you got to have, and then it's just boom, 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 boom. So I think it just took some time. I think for me, I was like, listen, we got to be done with boys wrestling girls. You know, we don't have boys hopping on the volleyball court, you know, smashing serves at, you know, girls. We wouldn't want that.
No.
You know, and I think some people don't like the divisiveness. And I'm like, listen, there has to be, out of respect for the girls. They deserve to have just as much as everybody else. And if you look at it from that standpoint, boom, good to go. You know, don't read into much more, because I've heard girls say, well, I would have wrestled, but I don't want to wrestle boys.
Right.
True. Well, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, it's like you have girls basketball, you've got girls golf, girls tennis. What, to me, I never understood that, because like you're saying there, what would you're having girls wrestle guys. You wouldn't have, you know, girls playing boys in basketball, right. or, and I just never understood that. And I tried to just do like a little bit of today, just Googling like about Iowa and how I couldn't really find much about it. And I was like, oh, this would be a good topic. Cause again, I kind of feel like, you know, it's just like all the other sports, like you said, like, duh, you give everybody the same opportunities, you know, and I'm assuming you sounds like you got plenty of girls, and it sounds like the traction that Iowa's gained from it has been pretty successful, hasn't it?
Yeah. And then you look on a bigger stage, you know, collegiately, nationally now. I mean, it is the number one fastest growing sport. And it's neat because I've always felt girls are just naturally athletic, right? Their gymnastics, their track, their whatever. Watching girls wrestle, it's incredible because they're able to move in ways guys can't really move. Yeah. So what would be a normal takedown for a guy, I've seen girls get out of takedowns. I'm like, I have no idea how you did that, because I would never be able to do that.
Right.
And it's really neat. It's just neat to see, and the growth. But, you know, for me though, too, I always think it's just it's another thing for girls to do. How can that be bad? You know,
right.
Like out of protection for the girls, you know, they're matched up with people their size.
Sure.
You don't want your daughter wrestling a guy that's the same weight. Strength could be different, you know?
Sure.
I mean, we teach our boys from a young age, you know, you don't hit girls. You don't do that. You don't do, but all of a sudden you're supposed to run out there and pound on somebody. It's like, no, that's, I don't want that.
I'm with you. It's kind of, I 100%. I feel like I was really, you know, and I never wrestling in my life. I always enjoyed watching it. But I was really happy to see that, because I'm like, you know, because there's going to be a lot of people who are like you said, girls that have said to you, hey, coach, I would have wrestled 3 years ago but I didn't want to wrestle a guy. Well, yeah.
Right.
You know, just like I don't want to play against a girl in basketball competitively, right. Like where the record counts. Yeah, sure, you're playing a rec basketball game or something. Right. But, I mean, it's like I said, it's just like you have girl sports and you have guy sports.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, but my next thing, you know, being the, like, for you, like, how did it feel, you know, knowing like, hey, you're the first head coach ever at Clinton High School for girl? I mean, how did you how'd you soak that up?
I don't, you know, it never really dawned on me. I just kind of was like, hey, this is what we need to do. And, but when I remember right before like the first season started, I love going into the wrestling room when no one's there and just kind of hanging out and just kind of sitting, collecting my thoughts. You know, for me, there's a deep connection to wrestling since I was 4 years old, and my family and everything. But I never really gave it much thought until I was sitting there one day and I'm like, wow, like not many people can get to say that. Like, that's pretty neat. For me, it's always, how can I connect it back to my family? Just because it always means so much to us that, like, I think like, man, would love to see what my grandpa would say, like be able to just sit and chat with him about it. It's something I take a lot of pride in. But I try to not sit there too long. Like, it's cool to think about, but it's like, it's also a responsibility. You got to build it right so this thing lasts and years to come, far past me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and say like for like the longevity part, like if let's say like you want to transition back to like both, guys, like is there like when you're coaching girls and guys, are you different? Like do you or are you like the same, you know what I mean? Like same philosophy, same, staying on them. I mean, like, do you have to?
So I learned a lot coaching softball. Like I believe wholeheartedly, God wanted me to feel very humble about coaching girls. And it's as much as you don't want to say like, oh, it's different. Well, there's a tact and delivery that's different. The coaching part is the same.
Sure.
How I communicate has to be different.
Sure.
But like I was telling somebody the other day, I go, well, it's kind of the same though, because there's girls I can really raise my voice to pump them up, and then there's girls that it's like, nah, you can't reach them that way. You kind of got to pull them aside. You kind of got to nurture them a little bit more, because it's not so much that they're sensitive. The biggest difference I noticed is girls don't want to let you down.
Sure.
That's their biggest fear.
Yep.
Guys, you're dealing with like that stereotypical kind of like fighter pilot. Like I'm good. I don't need you. There's a weird masculinity there that, you can kind of hammer out. I try to just communicate as best I can now, but I had to learn that the hard way,
Sure. Well, I'm sure there's a different, like I said, like you said, the delivery as opposed to not, the fundamentals and technique and all that you're teaching, the delivery. But yeah, I think that was probably like you said, you learn probably a lot of things about yourself and probably how to, would you say, probably like you said, communicate better, because guys, like you said, you can say certain things to guys that obviously you can't say to women. So
yeah,
like you said, because then they, like I said, they feel like they let you down. Where guys, a lot of times guys just pout. How guys are. A lot of people like play with it, cry, pout, and blame other people. And
well, and what was weird was there's one moment that stuck out to me when I was coaching softball, and I just remember, and I wasn't even, I don't even know how to explain it, but I was just passionately just trying to talk to him, because I just, my whole focus at Clinton High School has been, since I got there, was I want to change the culture. I don't say that to sound cool. I don't say that to try to, like the culture of Clinton High School that I grew up in wasn't always like successful, but I was never on a team that was like, oh, we're cool. We're just going to lose. It doesn't matter. Like you still cared. Like you wanted to win. We played Bettendorf and we went right after them. We didn't like just think, oh, we're going to lose.
Sure.
But I remember like saying to my uncle, I was like, man, I don't understand it. And he was like trying to teach me how to like, okay, well, how do you communicate that so a kid understands? Because they don't understand where you're coming from. So I try my best to just make sure I'm communicating in a way that I would want someone to communicate with my kids.
Sure. 100%.
Talk to them like they're my child. And, I never try to really raise my voice at anybody in like I don't know. Like I get passionate, but
sure,
I never get to the point where I'm demeaning or I'm hounding somebody. Like, and the girls that I do coach like that, we've discussed, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say this stuff to you, and usually they're pretty good about it,
Yeah.
And but I also back that up with I spent a lot of time talking to these kids, and I tell them, dude, I care way more than you think. So when you lose, I lose.
Right.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And I think where coaches go wrong sometimes is they don't necessarily put themselves back in those shoes with the kid, and that's sometimes you need to do that. And you got to just kind of take a step back and go, well, how's this 16-year-old viewing this tournament? They're not thinking about January or February. They're thinking,
right.
well, I got homework to do tomorrow. And,
Yeah. Well, you actually make really good points about, to me, putting yourself in their shoes, because you were obviously once an athlete and now you're on the other side. But I would say that, to me, coaching or just life in general is, we have to, I don't think we do a great job as society. We always just think like, well, it's supposed to be this way. Well, this is what we don't think about like what this person's been through or what their home life is like. All these things where, I've talked on here before with Coach Coit about, some of these, kids that grow up with mom and dad and they have the stable home life. A lot of that now is, they live with a grandparent, they live with an aunt, uncle, something like that. They've been through, there's adversity there. And you have to understand, like, yeah, maybe you and I grew up where we just, we had that, mom, dad, all that there, but that's very common now. And you have to put yourself in their shoes. So I think that's, for you, that sounds like you kind of got that figured out, which I would think now is probably more important than ever.
Well, and that, again, before we got on here, we were talking, being taught how to coach is extremely important. I don't know how anybody can just come into coaching without being under somebody, being taught and mentored, because I sat in my uncle's office for 4 years listening to conversations about everything but wrestling, him and a kid. And I just remember thinking, wow, this guy, no wonder these kids will run through a wall for him. Like, he knows, and they know that it's much more than wrestling. So for me, when I get these girls, I go, listen, I want you to be tough, because life is tough. Yeah. And wrestling will teach you how to get through those tough things. And there's nothing wrong with being from a home that's different than others. But if you don't have anything in your corner that shows,
Technical. Coach Schnee, you there? Did he time out? Hold on, folks. Technical difficulty.
It's the side of coaching that I think a lot of people don't understand or know.
Sure.
It's easy to just say, wow, that guy's a really good coach, or that guy's a really bad coach. It's like, you have no idea what it looks like behind the scenes to get those kids ready to go. It's neat because there's always a story behind the story.
Yeah. Tanner Weber said you must have MediaCom. You timed out there.
My internet's so bad.
Oh, I feel like, that's why I won't do MediaCom, man. No.
I think we have CenturyLink, and it's awful too. So I don't.
No, you're good. No, I'm with you on that. I think, that's like you said, I think just relating it to everyday life, you just always have to put yourself in people's shoes for that 1 or 2 minutes to understand them. And, I think the majority do, but there are a lot of people that don't. And, I would imagine it, in coaching, I've coached before, where I'm like, like I've always been like, I remember being that kid. Oh, yeah. I remember not, and like I said, you had to have those, you get those mentors, teachers and coaches, people in your corner, and, they believe in you, and it's important to have them backing you. And then you kind of feel like you can do, the sky's the limit, but, again, like I came from a household where it was just my mom, like my dad wasn't there. I had a stepdad. We didn't have a great relationship. I mean, so like now I see kids, I'm like, like I get that. I can relate to that. So I imagine that's got to be just as important for you. Like I said,
but then you also think too, I tell them, don't let your environment, control who you are. Just let it motivate you to be who you want to be. Uh, what I wish everybody could have the perfect family, but you know what? You can also create a perfect family for yourself, being on a team and being around good coaches that care for you, and staying busy. The least amount of time at home, if your home life isn't good, okay, well then get involved.
Sure,
stay involved.
Sure, absolutely. How, like, as far as like the kind of moving along a little bit, how's what's been your feedback from the community? Like, I know you were doing sponsorships and that. How's that gone? Like, have you got a lot of positive feedback? What's that kind of been like?
It's, you know what, if I'm being 100% honest, there's a handful that I can think of that are always willing to help. What's tough is there's still people out there that will kind of giggle and laugh at girls wrestling. We were going to have a bags tournament yesterday, but we had to push it back, and the timing wasn't really good because
Got the old MediaCom.
out of season stuff. There we
What's
go.
that?
I said people just, when it's not in season, people aren't thinking of out of season stuff. So we're getting there. We're getting there. My thing is I tell the girls all the time, if you want people to be a fan, you got to earn them. You got to earn them the way that you operate in the classroom, out for a different sport, when we're in season, because we're far from being safe.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is, like, I walk by the trophy case all the time, and I'm like, man, there's so many gymnastics trophies in there, state championships and stuff. And I'm like, well, they cut that program. It's who knows?
Yeah. No, it's a good way to look. Like you said, always trying to, build, because like you said, if you sit back and think you're in great, you're set in stone, then somebody could come up underneath you and cut your legs out and say, hey, we're not gonna do this anymore. Yeah. I don't see that. Do you see that happen? I mean, how would that happen? Would that just be if you just didn't have enough people, or? Your timing out.
My internet is so bad. I just cut out.
I know. I'm timing out.
This would be the least watched podcast,
No, you're good. You're good on the views. No, you're good. Where were we at?
Oh, just community help. I mean, the community, there's a lot of people that do, and one of the things I'm not the best at is going out and asking for money, because it's so hard. And usually that's the same businesses in town that get hit up. So you always kind of feel bad going back to them, like, hey, can you help us out? But fundraising in general is just hard nowadays. Very hard.
No, I bet it is. But like I said, over time, I'm sure you'll build that. You're building a fan base, and you're only into year number 3. I mean, over time, you're going to build that fan base, and people will come out of the woodwork and support you. I mean, I'm sure there's people now that support you that don't tell you that.
Right. And sometimes you're more supported than you think. And you just, I'm my own worst critic. So I'm always like, well, we got to do more. But I try to tell kids too, like, okay, well, listen, when we go places, every single thing you do matters, because people don't think the way we do. They may see us get 5th in a tournament and think that's great. And, 2 days before, we're talking about how to win that thing. So our expectations and other people's might be different, but you don't know what fans you're getting just by operating the way that you are.
Sure. So, since taking over, what do you think is the single most challenging thing you've had to face or overcome, being the head coach?
It's Title IX exists and it's great, but I think people don't realize that women's athletics is still fighting for respect.
Sure.
And my eyes were open dramatically to that. because from afar you can go, well, it's great. But then you go, there's still room to grow. I remember there was a referee at Makokata. I don't even know the guy's name, but I was arguing a call, or I was just addressing the call.
Sure.
And he said something, and then he turned around as he was walking away. He turns around and looks at me and goes, "They're just girls, coach."
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
And it took everything in me to not just lose it. And I thought, oh, nope.
Yeah. How do you not see, to me, like there, which we kind of have a little bit different of, me, I'd probably be like, listen here, you little,
yeah.
Like, I don't care, dude. Like that. I mean, to me, excuse me, that's bullshit. And, it's not like you're playing rec league or something like that. Like, get out of here, dude. I would have been like, then don't referee. Then get out of here. Like,
right. And for every one ref that's like that, I can name you 3 or 4 that are just incredible.
Sure.
And I love seeing those guys at tournaments and stuff. You just feel better because they love wrestling and they're going to treat the girls just like the boys. But officiating is another challenge. We had our first tournament last year at home, and it's hard to get people to officiate. Yeah. So it's sometimes you're fighting up an uphill battle that you're like, man, I never thought I'd have to deal with this stuff. But
sure. Yeah. Just to get people to officiate. I mean,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
That's brutal.
That sucks. Hopefully that changes. I mean, people, again, want to get into that and make some extra money and that, have wrestled or whatever it was. And I mean, it's like no different, umpiring softball or baseball or basketball. I mean,
that's a good way to get involved. I try my best really to not ever, and if I'm going to argue something, it's got to be worth it. And there has to be a chance it can get overturned, because I also was taught that too. My uncle said, if you're going to open your mouth to a referee, you better have a reason why, and it better be for something that can benefit. Because otherwise, in his mind, he's just going to be thinking, this guy's a jerk. I'm not going to give him that call, So I very rarely, I don't know, I try not to get it too intense with them. Sure.
Well, I could see that's not really a good example setting for the athletes, because, like in all sports, it's like basketball. It's the worst sport you can get after officials on, because it's like, dude, they're going to be coming against your ass all night long, dude.
Yes.
Just leave it be, dude, because you're done. Like,
yeah.
Like,
10 years of coaching, I've had one penalty on me, and it was in Iowa City Liberty. And our boys were fighting their butts off, and it was on a kickoff. I think it was on a kickoff, and one of our boys came around and just got blindsided. And I mean, it made me uncomfortable. He got hit that hard. I was halfway out on the field, and I was just telling the ref, I said, I just watched you call that for them, and you're not going to make that call here. I don't understand that. And he boom threw the flag, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's half dead. Oh my God.
That's awesome. You said it. I think football, when I was coaching with Coach Merrill at Comanche, we were the JV fresh off. We're playing at West Liberty, and one of our kids, I remember, it's Easton McDaniel. He gets, from behind a clip block, like just gets mauled. And the guy, the silent referee's right there. He doesn't even throw. So, dude, I'm behind my kids somehow. And I probably did say VF bomb a couple of times. He turns, and Merrill, like, I'm behind the kids, and then Merrill's off here. He throws a flag for like whatever, 50, and he turns, the play's dead, and he throws a flag, and he starts going at Merrill. Merrill's like, what the hell, man? Like, I didn't even say nothing. And I'm like, back, and the kids are like, I'm like, he don't know it's me. And Merrill didn't know until the end of the game. I was like, dude, it was me, man. He's like, dude, I'm going to kick your, what? I was like, I had to do it, man.
Oh, I love Merrill. And
Merrill, he's using like the hand gestures.
Oh, yeah.
And this
Well,
guy's like, I heard what you said.
We were, I can't even remember what tournament we were at, but me and my assistant coach, Eric Spittler, were sitting there, and there was a call at the edge, and I was just like commentating in my head, and it accidentally came out, and he turned around, and I quick looked down, so it looked like Spittler said it.
Yeah.
And so he yelled at Spittler, and he's like, you dog. I'm like, I got in trouble. And I'm like, hey, that's sorry.
Hey, man, it is what it is.
Yep.
You know, those are the fun stuff. I mean, I feel like, that's going to happen from time to time because you're passionate and it's all good to me. It's all good, clean fun at the end of the day. I mean, if you're not fighting for your, the girls or guys out there, on the field or whatever court, I mean, you care about it. You're going to be passionate, and sometimes things just slip out.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need to, and like you'll know when that time comes, but it's like, again, you just want to make sure why you're, I've had to go back. There's times where I've gone up to referees after matches and stuff and just said, hey, I just want to apologize. Heat of the moment. And they're usually really good about it. They're a lot of them, if they've been doing it a while, they've heard much worse or,
Sure.
But
I could only imagine. Yeah. That's probably not the first time they've had,
right.
Aside from, parents, the abuse they get from the stands.
Right.
I mean, geez, that can sometimes be worse than anything.
Oh man, it can. And so like, that's stuff too, that you try to cover in like your parent meeting. You just say, hey, listen, let us deal with that kind of stuff. We're trying to represent in a way that, we're respected when we show up. It's hard. It's a culture thing you got to create. So.
Yep. Here's kind of moving on. Here's a topic. Social media use for high school athletes, and just social media in general, because you're a teacher, cell phones in the school. I don't know what the rule is at Clinton High School, but here at Union, the high school, they actually ban kids cannot have cell phones throughout the day. Wow. They can have them in between, like changing periods to check their phone, but they cannot have them in the classroom. It sounds like that's gone like really well. But the social media, and you got Facebook, you got Snapchat, you got X, you got Instagram. How do you feel about pros and cons? Is that a major distraction, or is that very minimal?
I think it is. But for them, it's normal. For me and you, it would be a huge distraction because we grew up in an era where texting was expensive, or it was like, why would you just call them?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I've had kids. I mean, they know them. They know these kids. They go, well, I know this kid over there. I'm like, how do you know that kid? They're from Iowa City. Well, I have them on Snapchat. But my personal opinion is I feel like they're too connected, and I feel like they're missing out on what's in front of them because they're so caught up in what else is going on. In our class, in our school, they're supposed to be hung up in these little like cell phone garage type things. And they're pretty good about that. Now, I know there might be kids that don't hang them up. And I tell them, I say, if I catch you with it, you're to the office with it, whatever. I just don't think there's a place for it in school. You don't need your phone in school. Your parents can call the office. It's because if you're just missing everything at school, you're not present because you're constantly, seeing what else is going on. I hope one day we can get back to like, hey, just turn it in and get it at the end of the day. You don't need it all day long.
Well,
but I think as an athlete, I'll say it would be more detrimental than it would help because I can see so-and-so's match right now. I can see this person. I can see, and instead of like, we didn't know, you just showed up and played.
Yeah.
These kids are like, well, I watched their match and they're, oh geez. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, and I kind of like a little bit, with you being a teacher, what I kind of noted is like, do you feel like even as a teacher outside of the coaching, where the social media is so everything, it's right there. Everyone's got the cell phone, they're on their phone. the kids they're not very good at communicating, because what happens, would you agree, like in our era, where imagine if back in high school, you get a bad grade on your test, right? Or your project, and you're pissed off about it. What was the only option you had? You had to go to them and face them. Yep. Hey, Mrs. McDonald, why did I get and like now, either they send you an email, have their parents text you or call you. Like, it's like, are we part of, like, I just don't get that part. Like, you would think as a parent, you'd be like, no, if you have a problem with your teammate or a friend or something going on with a teacher or whatever, you need to go talk to them face to face. Like, I mean, that's what I guess I was kind of getting at. Like, how was that for like the classroom setting? Like when you have issues like grades, things like that.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough. Parents are usually good about like trying to email you. And what I always worry about is email getting taken in the wrong, tense or context and that. So I try my best to like read it with the mindset of they're trying to just talk. Kids, on the other hand, I'm always like, don't email me at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, and,
right. So I have to go through that etiquette stuff with them. Like, hey, if you text me in the team app at 11, I'm not going to respond to you. Like, that's not, it doesn't look good. So, and I have to kind of teach them that, because to them, it's normal. That's what you do. To us, it's like, no, it's not normal to text your coach at midnight. Like,
right.
No. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. I just kind of wonder, because, I think about it like now, I was reading something the other day just about how, this generation, with the reliance on that. But I'm like, well, like anything else, we allow it to happen. And, for like the kids, and I get it as a parent, like you can't have tabs on your kid 24/7, especially when they're in high school. They've got to be able to grow and make mistakes. But like the communication part, where I'm like, I remember, and I think you do, in high school, like if I had a problem with a teammate, I was going to go to him, like whether it was there in practice or afterwards, not, like send a text or like with a teacher. I'm like, no, like, and my mom would have been like, I'm not calling your teacher. You go talk to him, go sit down and be like, hey, what can I do? And I feel like now, like I said, it's very easy, like playing time and stuff. I couldn't imagine like some of these other bigger schools, like the emails and texts and stuff. I'd be like, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, and then, you think, okay, well, how does that translate to their adult life? Well, you're not going to text your boss. How do you go about it? The other day I was telling them, I had to teach them in the classroom. I'm like, hey, if you're missing assignments, and you turn them in, don't email me and say, hey, grade these. That's not what you say. You say, hey, Coach Schneeberger, I turned in my missing work. Whenever you can, I just wanted to let you know I got them done. I know why you got them done. I know I'm going to grade them, but they don't know. Sometimes they're just like, hey, my mom said to tell you they're done. So, they do their best. Sure. It's such a different culture that it takes some getting used to. And it takes some training to just train the kids to think like we do. But that's our job, right? I tell people, you can't complain about that. That's why you're a teacher. Teach them how to appropriately address that. Like,
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, and I get it, like our era and theirs. I mean, we were, way different, and we didn't have those things readily available to us. So we were kind of forced.
Yeah, but I also think, too, what made us different was, we always had disagreements on teams. It wasn't like everybody was best friends and it was always great, but like there was a healthy way to deal with that stuff as teenagers, that for some reason the phone eliminated that, and it just goes to drastic measures instead of like, hey, me and so-and-so just don't get along. Well, but we want to win. So I'm not going to damage the entire team because we don't get along.
Right. I
think the phone opens up a door for way more that can be detrimental to teams without coaches even knowing it.
Right.
I have no idea what they're saying to each other, and again, that's normal to them. It's not normal to us. I'm like, why would you say that to your teammate? Why would you not just talk to them?
Yeah. Well, I know. And I think now, it's tough because, I mean, I even think like if I get an email at work, I'll read it and I'll be like, why don't you just, and I'm like, I'm not, I'll be like, hey, you could have just, oh, well, yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm like, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I was going to see you today anyways. Like, I'm going to talk to you face to face because here's something, and I made a note on this. Like when texting was just coming around, you had to pay for it. Nobody really did it.
Right.
Texting and even today is meant for like, hey, I'll be there at 6:00. Like, hey, you have the casual conversation where I don't want to say it's not meaningful, but there's no merit to it. I mean, think about it. Everybody hides behind a keyboard and a phone. They can say all these things there, but they can't actually go and communicate and be like, I mean, imagine if you had a fight with your wife and it was a fight like, hey, you're probably not going to text her about it.
Right.
You're probably going to come home and be like, or you text her back, I'll talk to you when I get home.
Right.
Like, and I feel like that's just like now, like I hate texting. I mean, I hate it. Like, unless it's just like, hey buddy, how you doing? Like, cool. Right. But if like we had an issue, we had to talk about something in depth, I want to at least talk to you on the phone or in person, Well,
so one of the things I think about too is, like tonight when we were done working out, I started thinking of this. Okay, how do I get teams closer? Because as adults, we just assume they're a team. They want to be close. They want to do well. They want to do whatever. We just assume those things, but they don't know that because a lot of them come from different backgrounds. Maybe I'm an AAU stud and that's all I do is travel team or whatever. So like I do this thing now where I have everybody just kind of arms over their shoulders and get around and then we just kind of talk in that setting of like, you're together, man. You're going to go through some stuff. But in my mind, I'm going, they have to learn that. It's got to be modeled for them. And then I have to follow that up with, well, here's why it's important. Because when you're out in a match and you lose a match or you win a match, whatever, and your teammate is right there, that's a bond that's going to carry later on.
Sure.
If you're not, the phone is going to be a divisive thing, whether they think it is or not. And if a team isn't close and on the same page, it's going to be exposed when you don't want it to be exposed, and that's stuff that's got to be addressed. You got to address that. So.
Sure. I was just curious on your take. I've never, on all the podcasts, me and Coach, we've talked about a lot of things beforehand and, after we're always texting and stuff.
Yeah.
But, and he'd probably say he drives me nuts because I do the voice text on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I just cannot. I'm like, I start typing, my thumbs hurt. I'm like, even with him, I'm like, I want him to be able to hear my tone of voice and you know what I'm saying. But I'm just curious because, like I said, I don't think we've ever talked about it on here before. And I know that's just a big part of the culture right now, and it's just the era, and we're working through it. But I like your take on getting back to kind of the old school way there.
Well, it's hard too because it depends on who you are. Like, I'm not a guy that feels comfortable giving kids my personal cell phone. I just don't. I don't even want to have that be an option. I'll give it to their parents and hope that their parents know enough not to share that.
Sure.
But so we do like a team app, which is safe because everything's on there, whatever. But, because again, nowadays you just have to be so conscious of everything. And it's an added element that's a stressor. Some people are more cool with it, and they're more laid back and they think, oh, whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like try to be as consummate professional as I can.
Sure.
Text me through the team app. Don't ever, unless it was an absolute emergency or something. I'm like, don't.
Yeah. That's a good, I mean, I don't blame you because of things that can get misconstrued and it's once a text is sent, it's there, just like the Snapchat, I tell the kids now when I talk, I'm like, you guys don't, they deleted. I'm like, like if I get a search warrant and I get all stuff, man.
Yeah, it's not deleted.
Don't think about that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, well, it's gone. I'm like, yeah, it's not gone.
No,
it's really not.
Nope, it's there, and it'll get recovered if it's that important or it's something that leads to something else.
Right.
Interesting takes. I like it. Kind of moving here. I'm transition here. I'm gonna go take us back to your senior year of baseball. I'm a junior. Give me I don't know. Give me one or two of your favorite moments. I know we've talked. I got a couple of good ones, but whatever it may have been, whether it was with Coach J, Coach Snowden, teammates, anything.
Okay, so there was a time because Coach Jordan passed. Yep. I think today was his celebration of life, I think.
Yeah, it was.
I wasn't able to go. I wanted to, though, because that guy just knew baseball. And he was such an old school guy. Didn't give you a lot emotionally. But was just always like, if you could see him, he was always thinking. He was always analyzing. He was always like his baseball mind, like Rain Man. We were over at Westfield. We were on that right behind the batting cage. We had one of those crappy screens up that we were hitting into. Yep. It was me and Espy. And I think it was just soft toss. And I'm just tossing him. And Coach Jordan walks behind the screen. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Just as he does, Espy lines one. And it goes through the screen and just pops him right in the chest. And I will never forget the weirdest. He flexed. He's like,
no,
he's gonna kill the guy. Oh, and then he just walked away like nothing happened. I'm like, that's impressive.
Caught it in the chest.
That had to hurt.
Oh man,
that had to hurt.
And Espy probably hit a rocket at him.
Oh man! And then the most embarrassing one that I always have to. When we were Muscatine, and I took one just, had to be at least, mid-80s off the tip of the bat, right to the and I'm like, God, that hurts so bad.
If I remember that, because I remember pitching down there at Muscat, and I remember I remember that. I was like, I remember just going, like,
well,
like, no, man.
But you know me, like I wouldn't ever want to come out. Like that was never. No. But I just could not catch I thought I was going to pass out. Like it was like, and I remember Lakin was playing center, and he come in and go, "What happened?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What happened?" He's like, remember Muscatine had that wooden back.
Yeah, it had that wooden backstop.
He goes, I thought I hit the backstop. And I'm like, bro.
No.
It did not hit the backstop.
No, it did not. Oh, man. I remember that. I still remember you when you went, and I think everyone's like, well, what happened? I'm like, come on, man. You see where the ball went? Are you guys stupid or what? I think it was Duddy Carp. Duddy Carp's like, what? And I was like, dude, Duddy, come on, man. Like, what do you think? It hit off his thigh or something?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Gosh.
Those are good ones. I got a good one. I do this because, it's such a long time ago. But I know we talked about it on the Honeywell Heroes. But my first one is it was when I think it was Espy. Espy, he's of age. He gives me a pouch, and I had never chewed before. And it was you, Perrin, and Espy, and I'm like, you guys are like, are you ever done? I was like, no. And Espy's like, yeah, Espy, I always called him the instigator.
Yes,
he was great at instigating. Loved the guy. I had a lot of fun with him. He instigated. Oh, come on, man, just do it. And I go, yeah, you think I'm gonna say no? And I take it. And we're taking like an infield outfield deal,
Yep.
And you're at catcher. Me and Perrin are out in right field. And I think you said, hey, dude, don't leave it in that long, man. And Perrin's like, yeah, dude, stand it, don't. I go, ah, dude, I'm fine. Go like 25 minutes. And we get like we're getting done. And remember Coach Snow, we'd always meet like kind of there in right field. And I'm like dry heaving off to the side. And I'm like standing back behind everybody. And you guys are all looking at me. And I'm like, I'm turning like white. And I remember dry heaving. And he's like, what the hell's wrong with you? I was like, no, it's just not feeling good. And you and Perrin and Esther are like, dude, you idiot. We told you to spit it out, man.
You were so white. I just remember thinking, this is bad.
I was like standing up and I was like over and I'd be like, I thought I could stomach this. I'm like, oh, I probably should have took it out. And I just remember Snow looking at me, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm fine, man. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be sick.
Dude, I remember it wasn't my senior year, but when Coach Howe, God, I loved playing for him, but we were taking infield and he was getting so mad. I don't know what it was. We had the yips and people were just yipping the ball.
Sure.
He said, give me one of those. And he gets a ball and he just freaking rocks that. And I mean, it was from home plate and it bounced off the house in center field. And I was just like, wow, he was mad. He was mad.
Well, Tommy Boy could hit him. He could hit some people in a fungo.
He's such a cool dude. Like I see, that's where like it's, I struggle when we have opportunities to bring hometown people home. I'm like, that guy, he was Clinton High School, man. Like dad was the principal, decorated collegiate coach. And now, dad of, I think a son, I don't know if he's got two, but anyways, teacher and coach, why is he not here? Like,
sure. Yeah, he left. I think he would have left. I had him sophomore year baseball. So your junior year. And then he left at the end of, so your junior year, my sophomore year. Yep. Yeah. He was good stuff. He knew baseball and, he knew football. He coached football. Man. Yeah. I like I said, I remember, cause remember his dad would sit in the dugout for the game.
Yeah.
It was a Larry,
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Larry. He was a good man.
So cool. So cool.
Yep. Yeah. I think that year, our last year or your senior year, I still, our season obviously didn't play out the way we wanted to, but I mean, you guys were a lot of fun. You, Duddy, Greg, LD, Lance Dennis.
Oh man.
Remember old LD, Perrin? I mean, we had, again, like you talk about like the camaraderie and all that. That was always kind of even though we weren't winning, it was still a lot of fun. And, like you said, the competitive side, like you came out every competition and it wasn't just, we're going to get whooped. Like, yeah, you do your best and with what you got. But I had a lot of fun that year.
When I look back at that squad, it, especially as you get older, and gosh, it's like, I can't believe I'm 36, but I like look back, I go, I was so much fun playing with those guys. Like I loved each of those guys and playing with them since CJB and a little travel here and there. But like, I think about, for me, it was a lot different because I had caught for guys like Greg and you and Tanner. Sure. And that's a lot of innings and a lot of time. And, it was so nice to have a team of dudes you just love to play with and be with. And I tell kids too, you make the culture. The coach can say whatever they want, but we loved playing together. We'd play together and we wouldn't need anybody to say anything. We were going to go do what we did. And, I think we could have been a lot better.
Sure.
But I don't really know what would have done it. We had a lot of talent.
Sure.
I just think it's got to happen on the right time, We also grew up at a time where we had a lot of good baseball players across the state.
Sure.
And it was not as, I feel like there's a gap now, no offense, but there's a big There was not that big of a gap. I mean, it was pretty much across the board. The MAC conference was a stout conference.
It was tough. I mean, you have Assumption. You've got Davenport Central had a great program for baseball. You've got West. You've got Muscatine, PV, Bettendorf, North Scott. All those programs. Those were all.
Remember, oh yeah. Do you remember playing down at Assumption? I'll never forget this.
I hated that field.
Oh, it was bad.
God damn it, I hated that field.
Willie Argo comes up.
Yeah, Willie.
And then I think it was Hovey was pitching. And Hovey was a gamer. That's what I loved about all the dudes we played with. They were gamers. In their mind, they're like, I can, I gave him like a curveball and an off-speed pitch away. I was like, I don't want to give this kid anything. Hovey kept shaking it off. He's like, nope. And I'm like, dude, I'm not letting you throw a fastball to this kid.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm like, whatever. So he throws one, and I'm not kidding you. Argo turned on that thing, and all I did was just ask for a new ball. I mean, he smoked that thing. I didn't even come out of my stance. It was just tink, and I went.
Yeah. Was that? Yeah, I'm trying to think because their field was it short and right field.
Yeah.
It's like really weird because like the outfield like from left to right, then it starts deep and then like gets smaller, comes in, then right field. It's just a weird stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never liked Assumption. I just always looked at him and thought, God, I just No. Argo though he hit a bomb my senior year. I can't remember who was off of at the stadium and it hit the scoreboard. Yeah. Yeah, it hit the score. Yeah, I hit the score. We split with them because we were co-MAC champs with them. But he hit a bomb, dude. And that sucker, if that scoreboard's not there, ball probably ends up on the dike.
Oh my gosh.
He just hit a rocket.
He was good.
He was a good player. The only other story I had was you remember the old chicken nuggets.
Oh man. I'll never forget that.
Dude,
I will never understand how you did that.
Dude, I'm pretty sure if I remember right though, again, you were an instigator with Greg Espy on this. And you guys knew I was gonna bite. We were coming back from Burlington, and you guys are, hey man, you can't do it. I said, yeah, I can. I can do 40. And then Espy's like, oh yeah, I bet do 50. I was like, all right.
Oh
and
man.
You guys are instigating, and I'm like, dude, honestly, that was the worst ever. It took me like 3 days to recover.
Well, you got to remember that's pre-cell phone, and we had nothing but time. And I thought, but here's the thing about you: if you were to tell somebody they couldn't do something, most people are like, whatever, I could. You took it so serious, like, yeah, I can do it right now.
Oh yeah,
and it was just the number just went boom, boom. I'm like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, I got to see this. This is I got time,
Yeah. I'll never forget that because I think we rolled the bus with the girls. Remember?
Yeah.
The girls because we got a charter bus for that game.
Yep.
And oh man, I will never forget that. I think it was the next day. It rained for practice and Snowden had us lift. I was like, I can't lift weights. Like I was up for like 2 days where I'm like, dude, I thought I was gonna have to go to the ER.
It's so bad.
Those are fun times. Like I said, man, I miss those days, man. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so let's see here. All right, I gotta ask you. So who's your NFL team?
Well, I like to say that it was the Bears.
Okay.
We broke up, and I'm a free agent now, so I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my loyalty. I just feel like it's like aside from the Cubs, I just feel like the city of Chicago doesn't want me as a fan anymore, and it's hard.
Sure.
And I'm like, I can't keep doing it. I miss the days of I miss the days of Urlacher and Briggs and Hester and Tillman, and now I'm like, I just don't understand what we're doing.
Do you watch NFL?
Oh yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did you see the Well, how about let's start with the Panthers, Andy Dalton. Did you see him today?
No.
They threaded the Raiders. Andy Dalton, because they had benched Bryce Young. Who do they bring? Andy Dalton. He pulled the Joe Flacco of last year.
Wow.
He had like 250 yards in the first half and like 2 touchdowns.
Oh my.
Yeah. Dude,
Andy Dalton's no joke though.
Dude,
he's
Dalton, man.
But see, that's where it's hard because some of those gritty veterans, you know, we look at and we go, oh, come on, dude. It's like, yeah, but those dudes have been in the league. Like, that's what's so hard about the NFL. Like, these guys can be out, but you don't realize how good they are. Like, yeah. I feel bad, like Bryce Young, like, at that position, you can't just get thrown in the NFL. And like, look at Caleb Williams. Dude, that stuff worked at USC, not against grown men who run as fast as 20-year-old boys at USC.
Yeah.
Not going to work.
No, I'm with you 100%. Yeah, the Caleb Williams thing, I mean, I think he had almost 400 yards passing today. I think 400. They had a chance to win, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's their long-term guy. I mean, I think you got to give him at least a year or two, you know, to settle in. You know, like you said, it's not the same as like when Brady and Breeze and, you know, all that. Right. And Ben, I always use Ben. He's a rookie and he was 14-1 as a rookie. And, you know, I mean, it's just it was much more balanced then offensively and defensively, where now it's a passing league. I mean, Can you ask Caleb Williams? He threw the ball like 50 plus times today. That's a lot for a rookie.
Oh my God.
That's a lot.
Not to mention like
throws.
But so some of my buddies were like, dude, this is it, man. The Bears, we got, you know, and they list off everybody. I'm like, Keenan Allen, 3 years too late. He's not who he was 3 years ago. DeAndre Swift, again, 3 years late. Like, you know, you that position, you can't have dudes that are 3 years past their prime. Like, no, they're just not the same player.
No, and it wasn't Keenan Allen. He was out anyway. He's been out, hasn't he? I think he was.
Yeah, right. But see, I also think of this too. There's so much, and this, we could tie this back to high school sports and easily. When me and you were in high school, it was not normal to be a freshman on a varsity team. It was not happening. No. I mean, you had to be a freak to be on the varsity team.
Yep.
Nowadays, that's like a norm because numbers are shrunk down. You know, like there's just not a, you know, I tell people when I was wrestling, there was a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. There were 3 teams.
Yep.
Now you have a varsity team and some JV.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about, you know, I remember when Jake Mangler came up, and I think he was just hitting with us. I remember thinking, who's this kid? Like, because he was a freshman.
Yeah.
Now goes on to be a phenomenal Division I baseball player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kids at that age, but not a level that, you know, should be playing varsity. There's a progression and a maturity. And I think if you look at the NFL or you look at high school sports, we have to be okay with letting kids develop. And it takes time. If you do that, you get more out of them. Throw them in the fire. Big Ben was a guy that you could throw in the fire.
Yeah, different era. Well, and that like for the NFL, and then you're talking about high school kids. Yeah, that's a big step. It's a big step going from sophomore football to varsity football. You know, the speed, everybody's on the same playing field now. You know, and the speed, it's that much faster. You know, you're not able to get to the second level as an offensive lineman as you know, maybe a sophomore, you're like, oh, I'm just mowing these people down.
Right.
It's not the same. So I'm with you. I mean, but it's hard, I guess, if the numbers are down and they don't have enough to field a fresh team, a soft team, all that. Like you said, they kind of by default get thrown into the fire.
Yeah. Well, and then they don't know any different, right? So they're thinking, well, why am I not successful? I was just successful last year at this level. And you're like, yeah, but there's such a huge difference,
Yep.
And I'm not bitter, and I don't want to come off as like that guy, but like, you won the AAU state tournament in Davenport with your travel team. Great. Can you win a conference title in the 3A class, and can you win a state championship here? It's a big difference, and that's a struggle I have as a coach that has to deal with the AAU model that's changed dramatically since we were there.
Well, that's a good, I mean, we've talked about that a little bit before on here a couple different times, but how does that impact, does the AAU stuff impact your girls wrestling or no?
Yeah. I mean, so across the state, there's big clubs now. For wrestling, there's big clubs. So there's one like in Davenport, it's called Big Game, and there's, all these things. Well, it's a money grab, right? Like, I'm going to charge your kid tuition, basically, to come train with us. And we'll give them fancy shirts, and we'll make it, cool. So then the kid wants to belong to that, wear that shirt to school, and say, well, I wrestle at Big Game. Okay, well, who do you wrestle for, Clinton or Big Game?
Right.
So it's weird. So like now we're trying to figure out, okay, how do I have a club from the school, but allows maturity at a pace that's going to help? Because nowadays kids just want to go and they want to be good right now. And my high school coach sucks, so I'm going to go here. And, it's kind of just weird. Kids just can up and transfer, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gotta be. So like, from like, let's say like what you're teaching, and then, this club AAU, like, do you ever have kids come back and they're like, well, my club coach said this?
So I had a girl last year, and she kind of went, and there was another private club that she went to. And I told her, I said, listen, if you want more time and that's what you feel like you need to do, go for it. That's your business. I'm trying to build something here, so I can't, just work with, whatever. And she came back, and I said, well, how'd it go? She's like, well, it wasn't that good. It wasn't what I thought. And I said, well, did you do anything different than we do? And she's like, no. I said, well, it's not the answer. Everybody wants the secret answer. If I go here, then I'll be good. And that's just not how it works.
No.
No. So
No,
now my goal is to start a club this year for girls that has like $10 entry fee so they can have a shirt, and just get them used to wrestling and get them exposed to it so they want to keep doing it,
Sure.
But
that's a good way to go. I mean, I think you got a lot of good ideas, with Clinton, because, kind of on the down in some sports, trying to bring it back to the old school culture, or get it back to,
Yep.
And that's important. Like you said, I mean, I never thought AAU was going to be this way, as a whole. And as much as because I love watching sports in general, but, the more that I see this stuff now of like middle school stuff and all that, I'm like, well, God, when we were back in there was like 2 traveling baseball teams. That was it. And, maybe the select 15 people. Now there's like 30 teams. Like everybody has an AAU, and I get it. Like you said, they all want to be good, but number one, you've got to develop. You've got to master the fundamentals and the skills and the technique. You got to put the work in. Just because you think you're going to go some AAU team and pay money doesn't mean you're going to get any better. Like, I still think you got to put the work. You still got to put the work and the time in to compete at a high level. You got that media com going again.
My internet.
I just kind of stand still for a minute. I'm like, all right, media.
Okay, so because I didn't get to hear what you said, but I was thinking of this. Okay, so my son's 7. He had his first flag football game today.
Sure.
And I'm helping coach.
Yep.
I just like to be there because he can get nervous, and I just like to be there more of support. I try not to like overdo it. But what I've noticed is we get so wrapped up in our kids being
Technical difficulties again.
Dude, I'm so sorry. This is so bad.
No, you're good, man. No, you're all right.
So anyways, we just want our kids to be so good, so bad, so fast that we forget that like the secret, if there is one, is to get your kid to love the sport they're playing far before you start discussing how to get better.
Sure.
Because you're going at it from a mindset of, well, we want to get better. This kid doesn't know what that means. If they don't love it, why would they want to get better?
Right.
They don't even know how to love it yet. Like, no. And so my biggest thing that I tell my son is there's two things I'm worried about: your attitude and your hustle. That's it. I don't care. Just have a good attitude, meaning be coachable, listen, and then hustle.
Yeah.
Just that's it, you know?
Yep.
So I could talk about that for days because that you have no idea how much that culture has had an impact on our athletics. And it's so draining because for years they go, well, we won everything when I was in this team and that team. And how come? And I'm like, why do you think? Because you're not really playing North Scott.
No.
You're playing one of the 20 teams or 10 teams they have, you know, like, yeah. Just learn to love sports. That's it. Just being good is a byproduct of loving the sport you're playing.
Sure.
You know.
Yep. And you don't see a lot of, and I know we've talked about this a few times on here, probably more than a handful. Just like you don't see kids like out at like the park playing 2-on-2 basketball. You know, you just don't see that kind of stuff. I like we see a little bit around here. But at the same time, I'm always like, that's like every time when I'm working, I see the kids like throwing the football, I get out. I'm like, let's go. You know, and I'm like, hey, so I'll get out and I'm like, there's like 7, 8 kids, you know, they're running around. I'm like, no, we're going to do 4-on-4. Like, you know what I mean? To get them back. And they're like, oh, we were just doing this. I'm like, no, we're going to do 4-on-4. No, let's go. Line up, twins, here we go. Tell you what, you know what I mean? Like, get them going because like the competitive, I'm like, dude, this is the time you can, you know, be competitive against your friends, maybe learn something a little bit. You know, you'd like, you know, and I get it. Again, it's a little bit different era culture now, but God, I'd love to see that more with like all the sports, pick up baseball, wiffle ball, those types of things. That would be cool to see.
Think about this. Why do kids not hit breaking balls and off speed pitches well? Because when are they going to see that?
Right.
When would they see that?
Right.
You know, a kid on a travel team throwing a spinning slider that's supposed to be called a curveball is not hitting an off-speed pitch. You get better at that when you're playing wiffle ball with your buddies, and that thing is moving and it's junk and it's off-speed and it's, you know, we didn't realize that we were getting better by simply just playing with your buddies in the backyard.
Right.
We just wanted to play.
Sure.
Well, think about how many hours you spend doing that.
Yeah.
You know, just out at CJB watching my son, I was just taken back and I just was like, wow, this used to be the place.
Yep.
You know, everybody played there because it was good. It was competitive. Everybody bought into that. And now what you have is the majority of kids, they want to do travel, and, you know, kids like my boy are out there and they're trying their best, and, you know, and it's sad because I'm like, leagues like that should stick around.
Yeah.
You got to have those leagues.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You have to. Otherwise, you see the decline that you're seeing.
Right.
With kids going out, whether it's later on, pony league, high school, all that. Like you said, just the desire and love for it is a little bit different.
I think sometimes maybe I'm just too old school or I just nostalgic, but I always think, well, why do we play sports anyways? What's the purpose? What is the why? Because if you can't answer that, what your drive is, because if it's all about the almighty scholarship, that's going to lead you to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of money spent, wasted. And, it shouldn't just be about that.
No.
It should just be about, I play because I want to compete and be competitive. And I love playing with my boys. And I love, just the game. We've made it to something that it's so far past what it should be.
Sure.
And that's coming from a coach. I'm like, listen, dude, life does not end after a wrestling meet.
No.
I wish someone would have told me that, because I thought that. I'm like, oh my God, this is and it's like, dude, 20 years now, like no one's going to even know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're preparing them for, life. You're just preparing them for life and adversity. And like you said, if they think now, oh man, this is rough. We lost, my junior, senior year, like you wait, buddy or gal, when you lose your job, you lose and I think that's one of the things I will credit to, like, even, your brother Kellen, when he came in, I was a junior. The guys I always use, Jason Weiss, Mark Bloom, Tony Smith, those guys were, and even Weiss was the best. Dave Shelvin, I loved him. They were great at, like, we're preparing you for life. We want to get the most out of you right now, but here's what we're preparing you for is later on, the longevity, where I knew come on. How many kids are a Division I athlete? Not very many.
Right.
Yeah, sure. You could go on and play Division III, but it's like a full-time job. And that was the one thing I think I always credit all the teachers and coaches at Clinton. They were very good about that at that time. Like, hey, we're preparing you for life, and that helped me a lot, because, then you move on and you're like, man, here's the real world. Like I said, where now they're like, oh my God, I lost, like my life's over. I'm like, dude, come on, you better stop right now. Like your life is just beginning.
Well, and I can't say this all the time, or say this at school or with a lot of my athletes, but like I tell my son, I'm like, dude, it doesn't define who we are.
No.
Being a baseball player or a wrestler or a football, that doesn't define who you are. And then I tell them, like, we try to use the gifts God gave us to glorify him, do what we can, not to for our own good. That's not why you do it, and,
right.
And when you see that, that's where you watch people self-destruct, and they don't know their identity has been this sport. And now that I don't have it, what do I do? And it's like, the people that I admire the most are the people that are really good at athletics, and it doesn't mean as much to them. Right. It just doesn't. They're like, yeah, that's cool.
Sure.
And they just move on, because it's not who they are. It's not what they're defined by. I wish more kids were like, hey, like I tell the kids, have something else. You have something else, because it's at some point you could blow your knee out tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay, well then what? Who God knows what can happen, but it shouldn't always just be this sport or it's over,
Right.
Oh, I got to have the scholarship.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
you ain't getting one.
Well, it's like, dude, like just going to the state tournament for baseball, coolest experience, just awesome. That's all I needed. I don't need to go and do all this other stuff. It was like, it just wasn't in the cards. So it's okay. Life is still good.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, these kids see it different, because at a young age, you're on the travel team, you're on this. Mm-hmm. And you're like, dude, why? Let that kid just be a kid. He's 7.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. No, you're right. Come on. I don't know how, like I said, if I had kids, or if I ever have them, I think number one, I would never want to coach them, number one, minus like maybe like what you're doing for like the little league stuff. Yeah. That's different. You're there. I would never want to coach them. I think, yes, I'd want them to be in sports so it teaches them the things that they're going to endure in life later on. But like you said, like there's a point where it's like, hold on here. Like you said, Johnny's 6.
Yep.
I still have to dress Johnny in the morning and go in there. We'll watch him brush his teeth. Like, come on here. You've got to understand where they're at in life and put yourself back there. Like, hey, like I said, kids, you got to let them be kids. And hopefully eventually, if they enjoy the sports for the next 4 or 5 years, they'll want to keep getting better at it and keep putting work into it. But you can only do so much, like where it's like, take a step back.
And in our minds, we're again taking a different perspective. Like you're seeing it from your point of view. And if they knew this, then we would get here and we could. It's like, yeah, but he's trying to think if he's getting a snack after the game. He's worried about, is he going to get to go play with his buddy or, and we take away the innocence of athletics at a time where it's most pivotal, and then you wonder why they burn out. They're burned out because you've made them throw 7,000 innings when they're 6. I like to take the Aaron Rodgers approach, man. RELAX. Just relax, man. Just gonna be fine.
Yeah. He's still balling at 40.
He's still balling. But if you think about it, how did we get to that point? That's what drives me nuts. How did we get to the point where, Michael thinks the flag football game today is like, oh God, I'm nervous. I'm like, dude, about what? Yeah. Just go run around and have fun.
Yeah. Just go have fun. I mean, I think there's, like I said, that young age they're very impressionable.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes, the right people like yourself that, hey, hold on here. Somebody made a comment, Tanner Weber said, living the dream through their kids. We've heard that time and time again, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just what it is. You need people that understand it and understand where the sports, what it's supposed to do for you, where it's supposed to take you. Not this unrealistic people. A lot of people live, they have unrealistic expectations, reality versus, the unimaginable or, the things that are never going to happen. And I mean, come on. Like I said, like, I think I've always loved it when people say living the dream through their kid. I'm like, yep. And a lot of those kids burn out real quick.
Yeah. And if you're not careful, it can ruin the relationship really fast. I've seen that, and it doesn't end well. I always envision that because I had somebody ask me the other day, when's your boy going to wrestle or are your daughters going to, and I said, I don't know what they're going to do. That's up to them. I mean, I'm a different type of dude, man. I'm not going to force my kids to do anything. Like I want them to find something they love and do it, and I'll support them. Yep. I'm not going to drag you to the batting cage, and I'm not doing that.
Right.
I said to my boy the other night, I said, whatever you want to do, just ask. I'm not forcing you to do any of it because then it's not your idea. It's mine. And, trying to plant in his mind that, hey, it's your career. I don't want to ever put pressure on my children that they feel that if they're successful, then dad loves me.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No.
Because I want to be able to sit with my kids and watch whatever sports and laugh and say, oh yeah, just like we're doing. Like that's why you do it, because you get this much time in life. Why would you ever want to waste it based off success and being a professional or whatever? Those are very few and far in between, and it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. 100% spot on. Yep.
And it doesn't make it easy. I remember watching my son, and he was like, oh God, but I'm just like, I let him go because he's got to learn. You know, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that's different as a parent, even being a coach and a teacher when it's your kid. And I get that stuff. It's easier said than done. But I think, like you said, I don't, that's the way to do it. Like you said, you got to let them fly, let them go, let them go on their own. And that's going to be the best for them because they'll learn how to survive. They'll learn how to get through it, work through it.
Yeah.
And, that's just the best way to kind of approach it as a parent.
And you just want them to, they have to fall in love with it. You can't force them to love it.
Right.
And it may happen at a different time. Just listening last week to Byron, I don't think Byron gets enough credit. I mean, that guy's story is incredible.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if you get any more decorated than he is, like 3-time national champ and state. I mean, but the maturity you can see from where he was at to where he is now is because he was allowed to progress and develop. It wasn't, he wasn't an AAU state champ.
No.
He wasn't wrestling when he was 10. And it's like, I don't know, man. There's a different mold for everybody. And he's living proof of that.
Yeah, he is. I agree. Yeah, he was a friggin' stud.
He was.
Stud.
Still is. Good man.
Yep, he is for sure. All right, man. I just got one thing left, and then we sign off here. But all right, man, you were a catcher back in the day, so I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Okay.
Let's go.
Favorite MLB catcher of all time that you got to watch play.
Oh.
And why?
Okay, so the guy that really made me want to catch was Ivan Rodriguez.
Yvonne Pudge.
You Pudge, man. That dude, that guy had a rifle, man. And he was just gritty, and he wasn't big. And it was like, I just envisioned well, that's me because I'm not really that big. And that he made catching cool,
Sure.
And I was like, God, if I could be like that, that would be sweet. But he was impressive.
I for some reason I was thinking Pudge. Pudge popped up. Mike Piazza. He was arrogant though.
He was, and
he was an arrogant. He was a prick, dude.
Yes,
he just was. Yeah. Piazza. My guy that remember Javi Lopez for the Braves?
Yes.
Dude, and I loved it only because, he had Tom Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, Millwood. To be able to, if I would have been able to be a catcher, to be able to catch those guys.
Can you imagine this? I think it's neat to see all these things with coming out about Maddox. Sure. Calling his own pitches, just crazy stuff. And you just go, man, there's an art to it, and getting to catch for that many Hall of Famers. Wow.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Yep. But the toughness, the one thing that I always because I had my son try to catch this summer. I'm like, first time putting his gear on and all this stuff. And it was more just for me. I just wanted to see him in the gear. He only did it a few times, but I remember him asking, well, why did you want to be a catcher? Why did you? I said, dude, I just wanted to wear the gear, man. I thought the gear was just BA. And, sure. But there was a toughness about it too, because you see the game different than everybody else.
Yep.
And I thought, for whatever reason, I just loved that idea that I was always involved instead of just out there waiting,
Yep.
But, yeah.
Absolutely.
Javi Lopez, Pudge Rodriguez.
Pudge, Javi.
Gosh, there's a lot of dudes.
There's got to be. Why am I blanking on old school? I'm trying to think. Remember old Barrett, AJ Przinsky.
Oh, Przinsky, yes.
They were the cross. You remember when Barrett punched?
Oh yeah, he decked him. Decked him.
He put one down. Michael Barrett, dude, man. I still think AJ would have took it because AJ didn't even punch. He didn't even throw anything back. He's like, okay. You just.
I think he was surprised. I think he was more surprised. Like, wow, this guy just straight up punched me.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it, dude. Oh.
But see, that was a fun era of baseball too, though. I loved that era because home runs were still cool, but you still saw small ball. You still saw guys hit a bunch of base hits. I can't even really stomach watching baseball anymore because it's so different.
Yeah.
You know, it's like long ball or nothing. I'm like, that's boring, dude.
Yeah.
Give me some strung out innings that you put 3 or 4 hits to score some runs. Like, I don't know. It's different.
I don't watch. I watched a little bit, but the pitch clock thing, you know, speed it up, but whatever. I always like the fact that, the pitcher can control the tempo of the game,
Yeah.
and so again, it's all the culture changes, better or worse. I don't know. There's the kids now, maybe they like it and, they think it's cool, but I'm with you. Like Barry Bonds, dude, like when he was, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, 100 RBIs, like that was pre-steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people know. I don't think they really understand how good he was because, steroids don't make you hit a ball. You have to hit the ball. Now your 290 pop up can now go 320,
Sure.
but that guy, his swing was incredible. I mean, his stats. I was looking at some stats the other day on Twitter, and Tony Gwynn's stats were. I mean, I always think they're like video game stats. I mean, struck out less to Greg Maddux than anybody ever. Like, and I always think, man, there's a science to hitting, and we've lost that because now when kids are talking about launch angle and exit velocity and all this crap, I'm like, dude, what does that even mean? Just hit the ball. Who cares what your exit velocity is?
Yeah, just hit it.
It's either a base hit or it's not. So, like, if your exit velocity is whatever, but you didn't move a runner, then what was the point of, dude?
No, I'm with you. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just, I mean, you'd like to see more of like baseball. Like I look at, you remember the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt? I mean, was that sustainable for the long haul? Probably not. However, with what he had to build, his team with the financials. I mean, dude, you just look at you just find a way to get on base, right?
Yep.
Who cares what? I mean, yeah, if you're batting $120, you're probably not getting on base very often. So you're batting 260, but your OBP is whatever.
Right.
Whether you get hit, you get walked, whatever. Like it's all about like just finding a way to make a difference.
I mean, I know for a fact I have the school record for getting hit because I mean you saw it. I mean, I found a way to crowd the plate in a way that when I do turn and I make it look like I'm trying to get out of the way, I know my hips coming across and I'm getting hit.
Yeah,
I know that because in my mind I'm going, I could care, dude. I just want on base. Don't care. Don't care. Not worried about it. And but that was the mentality. And like nowadays, it's like. I don't know. What bothers me the most is we've lost the love of the game in so many different ways, and we plug in this stuff that we think people care about.
Sure.
Like I don't ever care about your exit velocity. I don't care about, I want to go watch a game and have it be like, dude, these guys are ripping the ball. Like this team is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's definitely changed. I mean, like I said, for better or worse, I don't know. I mean,
dude, what about earpieces?
What's that?
What about earpieces? They got like pitchers like able to like to the catcher, and I'm like, oh, dude, I loved calling signs straight up, man. Like I don't. Come on.
The only thing I'd like about that is like if you and I could like talk to each other,
right?
Like I'm like, but like I couldn't imagine like being when I think about professionally, like the mic'd up stuff.
Yeah.
Well, oh man, I'd be like, you can't put this on me. No. Like, no. I'm not, you're not micing me up, man. No way, buddy.
Nope.
I'm like, I hate having being mic'd up at work because just, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I can't believe I said that. Like, shit, but
yeah. And then like when you're coaching too, you're like, man, sometimes I just have to say stuff. It doesn't, I would never, but like, I have to, like, I'll tell the managers, I don't want you recording the match by me, because I don't want to have to think about, okay, I can't say this or I can't say that in front of the, because half the time it's nothing personal, but I'm playing through in my mind. I'm trying to problem solve and think about stuff, and I'm saying it out loud so my assistant can hear. So our exchange to help, what's going to happen next. But I could never have a mic on and people listen to it. And
no. I don't blame you.
Heat of the moment stuff. You can't.
No. There are some things that are better off not being heard.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is.
Well, and I always think too, if you have to mic people up to get people to watch it, you might want to think about why people aren't watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, you don't need a pitch clock. You just need to teach people, like, hey, I didn't want to mess around. I wanted to get in the box and go.
Yeah. Let's go, man. Like, come on, speed it up. Let's go.
Do you remember when Nomar Garcia-Pera made it cool to, like, sit there and,
sure,
he was half the problem. Like, guys then wanting to do that for 20 minutes and then hit, like.
Yep. I remember, the old Nomar days. Yep, for sure. So, well, my man, I appreciate you coming on.
I'm glad I got to be on, dude. Love what you guys are doing.
Come back, and when Coach Coy, he'll be back probably sometime in November when football's done. I imagine he'll probably want a week or so to decompress. But yeah, you're welcome to come back anytime. I tell everyone that we've had on, we're kind of just honestly staying with the platform. We've kind of actually changed, just more of like I said, it's just like a regular convo we'd be having at a table.
Yeah.
Where it's random stuff. I mean, we obviously like to know about, if you're coaching those things, but, like sometimes we get some topics brought up that are not, maybe not comfortable for everybody. I think that's important. Like me and Byron had a couple topics, where I'm like, I think we got to talk about it. And, I think sometimes it's nice to be able to have people willing to open up, and, it's a little bit different for you being a coach and a teacher. You got to keep it, PG.
Right.
But at the same time, it's good to get the perspective. Love what you're doing with the program. Again, it's great seeing Clinton natives, taking over the programs there and doing what they can to, get them back to where you want to be. And I think you're doing all the great things there for the girls. And I would expect nothing but probably to continue to keep going up and up, climbing the ladder as you progress through this year and the years coming.
Yeah. I'm trying my best to just make it to where, when people see Clinton come into the gym, they just are respectful. Like they just think, oh, you know what you're going to get with those kids, cause that's who our town has always been, and I take a lot of pride in that. Like we're tough, gritty, Rivertown, and what better way to represent than to just be known as being tough and, doing things the right way. So that's the plan.
100%. Sweet. Hey, as Coach Bloom would say, it's a great day to be alive.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, love it. Well, appreciate you guys. We appreciate you jumping on and following along with us. Appreciate all the support. Don't know if I'll be on next week because I got to find a guest, might take it off, but at least not this upcoming Sunday, but the following. So yeah, I'll let you guys know. Keep following our Facebook page, like it, share it. If you want to be a guest or somebody that might want to be a guest, hit me or Coach Coit up. That's all I got. I'm signing off. Coach DJ, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you, my man.
Appreciate it, brother. Good to be here.
See ya.